Pamoja Tutashenda, brothers and sisters, together we will win. This is Kefing Mwafrika Moor, your host and producer of Visions of Our People, bringing you part 2 of a sermon by Jaramogi Abebe Ageyman, also known as Reverend Abebe Cleage Jr., the founder and first Holy Patriarch of the Shrines of the Black Madonna of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, and author of The Black Messiah and Black Christian Nationalism. In part 2 of Jaramogi's sermon entitled, Would It Not Be Better to Go Back to Egypt?, a sermon he preached at the historic Shrine of the Black Madonna No. 1 in Detroit, Michigan after the 1967 riots in Detroit. He talks about how important money was to the European white colonialists who ran Detroit in controlling the black community to remain under the control of the white establishment. When New Detroit offered Jaramogi's group, the citywide Citizens Action Committee, $100,000 to develop the riot-torn 12th Street area, Jaramogi refused to take it because he said it was a form of colonialism. Here's Jaramogi Abebe Ageyman, also known as Reverend Abebe Cleage Jr., with part 2 of his sermon on Would It Not Be Better to Go Back to Egypt?
I know that last week I was screaming on television about this money. You remember this $100,000 that we gave back to the white folks? And it was very important. I never knew money was so important. I said I never knew money was so important. You know, they had after we had the press conference, we called them up about 4 o'clock and told them we were going to have a press conference at 5, and we were rejecting the $100,000. You know, normally you call them the day ahead, and then they got some arguments. They were all, the line was just full. Everybody was there. Here was some brothers going to give back some money. Everybody came out to hear the story. Everybody came. And then all the rest of that night, you know, see the 11 o'clock news. They picked me, shake my finger, and then they had that little thing, you know, see the 11 o'clock news. And Wilma Vaughn said her little girl Sybil saw the thing, you know, I wasn't saying nothing, they were just announcing the news coming. And she asked her, what is Reverend Cleage saying? I mean, he talking about black power. I don't know if you know how little Sybil is. That's quite a thing, you know. She didn't know what I was talking about. I mean, you know, our children do understand something about what's happening. You think maybe they just sitting there, they don't know what's going on. They do. Even Sybil knew that we talking about black power. Even if she couldn't hear the words, she knew what it was. But it is amazing how important money is. You know, the Federation, like some of you don't quite understand all the mechanics and stuff. You know, it's all just us, you know, trying to work in different kind of ways. The Federation was supposed to be kind of a leadership thing where, you know, the heads of organizations came together. Federation for Self-Determination. Set up a little proposal, wasn't too much, too fancy anything. Very simple, you know. Going to try to coordinate the work of organizations and so forth. Submitted a proposal to the New Detroit Committee. They considered it. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful proposal. And they promised, you know, we're going to give you the money to do this, because this certainly needs done. You know, it's the kind of thing we had in mind. We're glad somebody submitted it. And then they started thinking about it, and then, you know, some of them folks who ready to go back into Egypt, they got together and said, you know, don't give it to them, because they ain't going back into Egypt. Give it to us, and we'll use it to lead them back into Egypt. So they started thinking about it. Man, there's something to that, which is natural for a white person. I was a white person, I would have thought that too. I said, now look, we got 2 groups here. Here we got a little group, they don't represent anybody, but they say they're going to take this money and they're going to lead them back into Egypt. And this other group, we don't know where they're going to lead them, but we know it ain't back into Egypt. So they kept weighing and twisting, you know, trying to decide. And you know, the whole, you know, that when white folks get disturbed and upset and don't know what they're going to do, ooh, they go through so many aimless motions. You think white folks just run in the world, you know, they don't never worry about anything. You see him, he walking along like he knows what he's doing. Boy, they're the most confused people in the world. Most confused people in the world make more mistakes, talk more double talk, take back what they said faster. Just confused. They just walking fast because they don't want you to know how confused they are. If they stop walking fast, they have to sit down and cry because they've lost complete contact with reality. Oh, I'm going to talk about talking fast, calling people, trying to get somebody to see somebody else. It was pitiful. All week they working, trying to get this thing worked out. where if it finally could be worked out so that all of us together were going back into Egypt, that they'd all been satisfied. And they figured they had the lever. They had the thing, you see. They had the money. We want to organize. We want the promised land. We know where we're trying to go. But they had the money. And all down through the years, money was the answer. You remember they were trying to organize the Pullman porters, the first time black folks come and get organized. You know what the Pullman company did? Went out and gave all the black preachers in the country $50. $50. Boy, we was really selling cheap then. $50, and every one of them started preaching against the Union. That's when Randolph, was really trying to do something, because he was a pioneer. But I want to talk about how they went out and just bought up all the churches. Bought them up. Most of you young folks here, you can't remember when they just trying to get to UAW here in the city of Detroit. They bought up everything in Detroit. You couldn't hardly hear a voice in the black community that said unions are good for black people. And they were good then, because we didn't have anything. No protection on the job, Harry Bennett out to Ford. Marshall, that's right. Always you got to have a Tom there with the man, But I'm talking about, at that time, they could buy out the community with money. I'm talking about the man has got a lot of faith in what he can do with money. And that they were calling back and forth, but they knew they had the ace. Because finally the money was going to be the telling thing. And so they come out, I don't know, I didn't hear the man just as well, perhaps. When Hudson came out and announced, he was giving us the money, going to give us 100,000 and promised 200,000 more. But he was going to put an overseer over us. That was a mighty poor choice of words, wasn't it? That's what he said, though. Put an overseer over us, to make sure everything was going all right. It was a black overseer that he had in mind. But it was overseer right on. Even in slavery days, some of the overseers were black. You saw what the thing gone with the wind up. Quitting time. Don't you say quitting time. I say quitting time. Quitting time. Going to put an overseer over us, then they're going to tell us how we must relate to other organizations. Now, you say they're going to take 100,000 and give it to us, 100,000 and give it to, them other folks. And for that much, they're going to be telling us what to do and how to do it and how we relate to other organizations. There's other little nonsense in there, too, So we had a meeting over there at the Federation. It was just an ordinary group of people. Y'all could have been the Federation. And everybody there said, we've come a long way. They said, we don't want no kind of money like that. And they meant it. We spent an hour talking. All we were talking about is how do we say it. There wasn't an argument about saying it. The only disagreement was, do we say it stick it or, do we say it nicely or what? How do you say it? That's all. That was the whole difference. There wasn't a living soul there who wanted to go back into Egypt. And there were at least 200 people there. There might have been a couple. There might have been. I remember Diggs came in, and he heard what was going on, and he tiptoed out. So I don't know whether he went back to Egypt or whether he's still around. But I'm talking about the real brothers that were there that were trying to decide something. There was no difference of opinion. We all knew that the day of that kind of slavery was over. What we're trying to do, I've had at least, 25 phone calls from outraged white folks. It's amazing. They outraged because we wouldn't take the money. They call them, what's the matter? Y'all hate white people. That's why you didn't take the money. That's just like that integration thing. When we stop trying to integrate, then they come around and say, you don't want to integrate? You hate white people then, don't you? You believe in separation. You hate white. Now they talk about, you don't want to take our money. You must hate us. Well, that's they put it any way they want, But that's the reaction they get. You don't take our money. You hate us. We gonna get you. Nut after nut, nut after nut. They really upset. You know why they upset? It's not the money. They could have given 5 organizations $1 million apiece. It's not the money. It's just the idea that black people have really decided that they're going to be free. That's all it is. That's what disturbs them. We thought we want self-determination. And they said, well, that's just a word. That doesn't mean anything. Like we had a good brother at the orientation meeting last night. Said the nation is ethnic, cohesiveness. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You know, if we're just looking for words. But we say self-determination, they think, man, they say, that don't sound too bad, self-determination. But when we say self-determination means we're going to run it ourselves. That's what it means. I mean, you're not going to tell us anything about how to do anything that concerns us. We're going to do it ourselves. Now, if you want to drop some money over here, do it. But don't come by telling us what to do with it. Because that wouldn't be self-determination, now would it? If he's going to give us money and tell us how to spend it, then we're working for him. Isn't that true? Yeah. But he can't understand that, though. He said, yeah, I go along with self-determination. Now, here's some money, and this is what I want you all to do with it. Tell me, you can't hear something. You're deaf. Listen, we talk about self-determination. You know, well, there's nothing wrong with that. These are no natural restrictions. I heard even some black brothers say, no, naturally the man going to have some restriction. Well, naturally, he may, but we don't have to pay any attention to him. That's the whole thing. The idea that black people are going to be free is a whole new idea for white people. And it's just beginning to seep into their mind that we're serious about it. That when we say self-determination, we mean we want to, run the thing ourselves. And he doesn't understand that the promised land is not any certain place. It's the way you are. You know, we're in the promised land. Now, he may not know it yet, but we're there already because we have made up our mind. We have decided. We are in the promised land. There ain't no way we can go back to Egypt because when we made up our mind, that was it. Now, you know the man can't set up any kind of conditions that's going to make you accept the kind of oppression that you used to accept a few years ago. Now, that's true. And, I mean, he's got to find it out, but it is true. The conditions have changed. The reality in which he has to function now is a different one because we are already in the promised land. Now, we may have to fight to stay there, and we could get killed in there, but we're there because we made up our minds already. There's nothing he can do. There's no amount of money. Now, he can raise that 100,000 to $1 million. And it doesn't make any difference what the restriction is, like I tried to explain to them, and they couldn't understand it. I said, if you put a line here and said, I'm going to give you this $1 million, but you've got to stand on this side of the line before we'll give it to you. We tell you, take it and give it. You know, it doesn't make any difference what the restriction is. You know, what are you going to do with it? That's none of your business what we're going to do with it. Do you know what freedom means? Being your own man, that's what it means. Doing what you want to do. If you just want to sit there, from now on, it's nobody's business but yours. That's what it is, self-determination. But they don't understand it. It upsets them. And it was a beautiful thing. It was almost worth more than $100,000 just to throw it back at them. And you know, good black brothers and sisters all over this country been calling just to say thank you. Didn't have nothing to do with it, no place near. Just glad. That's the feeling of a nation that we got now. People call from Chicago. I never even saw them. It's beautiful what y'all did. I said, thank you, brother, and when y'all do something beautiful, we gonna call you too.
Brothers and sisters, you have been listening to part 2 of a sermon by Jaramogi Abebe Ageyman, also known as Reverend Albert B. Cleage Jr., the first Holy Patriarch and founder of the Shrines of the Black Madonna of the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, and the author of The Black Messiah and Black Christian Nationalism, entitled, Would It Not Be Better to Go Back to Egypt? Join us again for another Visions of Our People.